Okay, we're finally ready to start. Mr. Art Dolan from Rebuild Recovery, take it away.
I don't believe in, and I'm sorry to Sherry and Carrie Burroughs, is probably going to be offending them the most, but I don't believe in goals. And I don't believe in plans. I don't believe in business plans, and I don't believe in goals. And I've been in business for 11 years since sobriety, and I've achieved some things or tried maybe a moderate level of trying to get some things done. And so far, I haven't picked up a pen. And inevitably, whenever I come up with something that I want to do, somebody tells me I got to write it down or I got to figure out how it's going to go before it goes. And, I don't even believe we can make a plan to mow a lawn without an accurate plan to mow a lawn. I guess along the way, things would come up that you don't know about. And you would say, well, I didn't write in there, move that rock. And I didn't put in there, take that dog shit and pick that up. And so I've never believed in goals, and I haven't set any goals in sobriety. I've not set one since I've started, and I have not wrote a business plan. I've started 4 businesses or 5 businesses. I've never wrote one. I don't know how to write one. I don't know what I would write down. And so that brings me to kind of like coming to the conclusion that all of you, and maybe I'm ignorant, and maybe I'm naive, and maybe I won't be successful, and maybe all that's okay with me. Because I think at some point in my life, because of my addiction, I stopped caring about that. And at some point in my life, what inevitably ended up happening is, and just like we talked about last night in this room, what we talked about is I see everybody trying to figure out what they want. And I always hear this like thing that people always say, like, you need to find your passion. And I think that's generally a retarded thing to say to people. I think that our passions find us, and I think that things find us. And I think I'm more and more a believer in that we don't even change as human beings, that just an inevitable evolution of us starts happening. I mean, you can really kind of retard an evolution of yourself and slow it down by doing drugs, and you won't evolve as a human being. But as soon as you stop doing drugs, what happens is this natural evolution, and it would be impossible to not evolve. It would be impossible to not get better. We learn, we get better, things happen, we fail, we figure out what we don't want, we figure out how we, and that's how we kind of learn. We figure out what we don't want. And so the lesson that I gave everyone here last night, and what we talked about last night, was I don't think that anyone in this room is going to be able to figure out what they want. And I said that the only way that we can really kind of figure out what we want is to actually isolate the things that we don't want and kind of run the other way. Figure out, this is what I don't want in my life, so I'm going to go the other direction because I keep getting this result. And then we even took it a step further, and I've taken a step further. And I said, now the times in my life that I've been really happy in recovery, and I think the difference between what's happened in my life and maybe what's happened in other people's life that's went on, is the number one concern in my life stopped being what I'm doing. At some point in my life, what I'm doing stopped being the concern. And when it stopped being the concern, what started showing up was how I am as a human. And so the major concern stopped being what I'm doing and started to look like, how am I being as a human being? And that started to be the utmost important to me, is that I would spend my days in recovery. And recovery meant to me that I'm going to spend my days actually looking myself, not at what I'm doing. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. It doesn't matter if I'm cleaning the kitchen. It doesn't matter if I'm walking the dog. It doesn't matter if I'm on my phone. It doesn't matter if I'm working. It doesn't matter where I'm working. It doesn't matter what kind of business I'm in. It doesn't matter. It only matters if I'm looking at how I'm being, if I'm really studying me as a human being, because inevitably when I'm most miserable is when I'm unhappy with what I'm doing. So when I become most miserable is when I'm really worried about what I'm doing. And I start believing inside that what I'm doing is what's going to make the difference. I start gaining this belief that if I'm doing something different, I'm going to be happier than I am now. I start gaining a belief that if I set a goal and achieve it, I will then be happier when I achieve that goal. I start setting these things up that kind of really put me in a position to fail. And I think once you start, is there something going on, guys?
The dog is snoring.
Okay. If you really start focusing, what happens is if we stop using, And when I say using, I'm talking everything. When we stop using complaining, when we stop using our work, when we stop using what we're doing, when we stop using gambling, when we stop using sex, when we stop using, and what I mean by that is when you begin to have difficulty in your day, no matter how it is, then the focus becomes how you're being. The focus just means stop, look at how you're being, check your energy, check your attitude. Let me see how I'm being. And if you get to a place where you do that, what I've found is that it's never about what I'm doing. It's about how I'm being. And what happens is my mind is filled with all these escape hatches. My mind has this, when I'm not using, when I don't turn the television on, when I don't get on my phone and scroll because I'm unhappy, when I don't go gamble because I'm unhappy, when I don't use sex because I'm unhappy, when I don't use drugs and alcohol because I'm unhappy, but there's just some kind of like pressure and it just doesn't feel very good. And I'm just like, there's a buildup. There's something that's just not right with me. I'm not in acceptance or whatever it is. What ends up happening is that if you just sit there, your mind will develop these escape hatches. And your mind has this amazing ability to soothe itself. And what I mean by that is like, it's just this self-soothing operation. Like if you just sit there and wait, it'll figure out why you're okay. It'll figure out why you don't need to really worry about that. It'll figure out what you're going to do if that inevitably happens. It'll like make a plan if failure comes about. It'll do whatever it does. You ever wake up in the middle of the night, and you panic for a minute, but then your brain does that self-soothing process and puts yourself back to sleep. You kind of, oh shit, I'm so worried about that. And I got to get that. And then it's like, okay, I can call somebody at 9. I'll handle that then. Back to sleep. And then maybe you're mad at somebody and it's, oh, I'm so angry with somebody. And then it figures out, well, maybe I should be more forgiving. And it has all these self-soothing mechanisms that you can do if you don't use. But if you use, well, that's what the brain will do. It'll just go use. And so over 11 years, I'm starting to come to the conclusion, first of all, my brain used to do a self-soothing thing that it was really soothed when I had the answers. And so I got this thing called Solution Group and everybody comes and I'm supposed to have the answers. And I want to tell you that my brain doesn't soothe itself that way anymore. It's not convinced any longer that I know anything. Really, it's not convinced that I have the answers. It's not convinced that I'm ever going to get them. It's not convinced about any of that thing. It's more like being okay with not knowing. Being okay with just living in acceptance. You know, one thing I hate is diversity. I love it when people always say like they like diversity or that they're so happy with diversity. I just don't believe as human beings that we like diversity. I don't think we like to accept things that we don't like. I don't think we like things that are different. I think it's very hard. Like this person's very different than me. Isn't it hard to like get yourself just to accept them? Somebody has a different opinion than you and everyone's like, well, we need to accept everybody's opinion. No, I don't. It sucks. I hate other people's opinions. I like mine. You know, I really generally like my opinion and I don't like diversity. And it's so hard to like be diverse. It's so hard to accept diversity. It's so hard to understand it. It's so hard. And so I have to deal with that. I have to deal with the fact that I don't like diversity. I like everybody to like what I like, you know, and I start like not liking people that don't like what I like. I think you're weird. You should be more like me. And so, and I don't like, you know, goal setting. My friend told me that he went to Tony Robbins last week. And when he told me this, immediately in my head, I started not liking him. You know, he said, I walked on coals and I went, you're a douche. That's what fucking came up in my head. That's honest. And I told him, I said, that's kind of, you know, like you walked on coals. Okay, what's that going to mean in your life? And they got a story that somehow that means that we're liberated because we walked on coals and somebody's buying that, paying for that and go, oh, well, how much did you pay for that? I could have set them up in my backyard. I barbecued yesterday, whatever it is. I don't know. You know, I was sitting here in Solution Group and, you know, my mind has these, but it does have a soothing mechanism to it. And if I just let it sit here, I can kind of find a place where I can accept and I can look at diversity and I can go, okay, wow, that's just life. It's life. We have to deal with all these differences we don't like. We have to admit we don't like them first. Like in order for America to get better, America, the whole country, for it to get better, we first have to admit everyone across the board in America has to admit that they're bad people. We're just bad people. We're not the greatest. We're not great at being people. How's that? The whole America, both sides. Hey, we all kind of suck. That would be the first step. The second step is, hey, we all kind of suck. You don't suck. And I like, it's not like we need people to go, you suck, but I don't. You suck, but I don't. We need everyone to go, God, we all suck. We all suck. You know, and so somebody's going to come and they're going to say, well, you should set goals. Well, okay, we should set goals. Well, how many of those work? How's that work? Do people not get, like, if I don't set the goal to go to the store this week, am I not going to get to the store? I think I'll get there. Like, I need to go get some food. I don't need to set a goal and like mark that off. I can just go to the store. I don't need to set a goal to brush my teeth. I'm going to achieve it, you know? And I don't need to set a goal. So then it comes to this thing where, like, for business, everybody goes, well, what are you going to do for the business? Well, I'm just going to be Art. Well, what if you started a construction business? Well, then I'd be Art with a hammer. Well, what if you started a carpet business? Well, then I'd be Art laying carpet. Well, what about a dog grooming business? I'd be Art with dog clippers. I'd be Art washing a dog. And that's kind of my business plan. My business plan is to be how I'm going to be. That's it. You accept me or you don't. And generally, I'm not going to go sell cars because I don't believe in cars. So, you know, we're trying to figure out how you guys actually figure out what you want. And I think that's the mistake. I think you got to first decide what kind of person you want to be. I think you got to, and you don't even get to really decide what kind of person you get to be. You get to kind of just be the person you're going to be, but only when you ask the question, what kind of person am I being? And so hopefully tonight, this will give your brain that question. So tomorrow when you wake up, maybe it's not going to be concerned with, your brain won't be concerned with what you're doing, but maybe possibly, and it might not work, but maybe possibly you hear my words and it'll say, hey, how am I being today? And maybe that will take top priority rather than you achieving your goals. And if you can just be the person, maybe the person that you're being is going to receive whatever it receives. And as you become a more honest person, and maybe it's honesty, and maybe it's integrity, and maybe it's keeping your word, and you decide that's what you want to be first. And all of a sudden, these things will just show up for you, these opportunities. We really have a hard time not. You know, my dad used to drive around and I tell him I couldn't find a job. And then every time me and my dad would drive around, he would see a help wanted sign and my dad would go, close your eyes. Don't look over there. You know, he would make fun of me because there was so many opportunities. And I always acted like I couldn't get one. And so, you know, one of the escape hatches that my mind created, because the last couple of weeks for me has been very difficult and always is living here. It's difficult. There's pressure, there's anger, there's resentment, there's frustration, there's me complaining about people and wanting them to change. There's dealing with each one of your guys' energy and my own, and we're mashing that together. And then my mind has an escape route. If I sit and I go and I be alone for a second, it'll develop this beautiful escape route. And one of them tonight was, and it just kept happening, and it was this word, appreciation, to appreciate. And so my brain just gave me this escape route. Well, appreciate it. Appreciate that this person is where they're at. And then I looked it up because it gave me this word, just kept coming in my brain. And I was like, appreciate, what does that even mean? And it says to know the full worth of something. And then I went, well, shit. I don't even know if that's possible that we could appreciate things then. Because how could we even get to the level of knowing the full worth of what we're doing right now? How do we know? How would we ever know? And then it's this thing that everyone tells us to have gratitude or tells us to appreciate or tells us to do these things. And I don't believe that that's even possible. Your brain will, if you just let it sit, it might give you that escape route, but it might give you another one. It might give you acceptance. It might give you gratitude. It might give you thankfulness. It might give you like honesty. It might give you whatever it is, that there's always these little hatches whenever you have pressure and you can find a way out. And the only thing you got to do is not use. And if you use, that's your escape route. And your brain will never develop new ones. And so what we're doing is we're developing all these escape routes through our brain, ways that our brain will soothe itself without drugs and alcohol. It will do its job. People can handle amazing shit. They've handled Nazi internment camps. They've handled Japanese internment camps. They've handled amazing shit. You can handle boredom. You can handle an annoying coworker. You can handle an annoying roommate. You can handle it too. You just got to sit there and let your brain handle it. And so a couple things that I just wanted to bring about is that, one, I don't think we're ever going to figure out what we want. I think what we want will just show up when we're the right type of person. The opportunities just show up when we're ready for them. The right women, you're not going to be able to figure out what kind of woman you want until you're ready to be the man or woman that meets that person. And then it'll show up. And we can't force it. And so in the meantime, what we can do is we can just focus on if your brain does it for you tomorrow, and I'm not saying it will because there's no telling, but it might. And it might go, wait, what type of person am I being? Let's worry about that before I worry about my goals. Because goals on top of a shitty person just make a shitty person achieving things and being more of an asshole. Really. And goals on top of shit it just shit still. So we can't pile goals on top of dishonesty. We can't put goals on top of a lack of integrity. We can't pile goals on a non-appreciative person. We can't, because of somebody that's not grateful and achieved their goals, it doesn't help. Just makes them more ungrateful and more of a prick. And so really, what I will say is this is recovery. We're not recovering from what we've done. We're not recovering from any of that. We're recovering from how we've been. We're recovering from being a liar, recovering from being dishonest, recovering from lack of integrity. And we're figuring out what we don't want. Do you ever want to be sitting and being at that table of judgment because of your bad behavior? Do you want to have to answer to people again that you're not supposed to be answering to? Do you want to be actually sitting there where a CO and a prison guard gets to control your life, or a judge or an attorney or a prosecutor? If that's what you still want in your life, well, that's what you're going to get. But for me, I figured out I didn't want none of that shit no more. That's all I figured out. I didn't figure out what I wanted. There was no telling. How would I know what I wanted? I didn't know this was going to develop in my life. I just became the type of person that was ready for it. That's it. I didn't know how much money I was going to make. I didn't know what money it would take to build a business. I didn't know if I was going to have any money. I didn't set goals of a particular amount of money. I didn't set goals of what kind of car I was going to drive. None of that shit. I just focused on, I thought, and I got lucky because at 37 years old, I really thought of myself as a shitty person. I really thought of myself as a shitty person. I think that was the best benefit, the best thing that's ever happened to me. Because only somebody that thinks of themselves as a shitty person can get better. If you think you're already great, well, what's the work? I thought of myself as a person who wasn't capable of love. I thought of myself a person who didn't care about other people. I thought I was selfish. I thought I was arrogant, and I was all those things. And the road to working on those things came because I thought all those things. And so really, to say that you guys are going to figure out what you want, I say more worry about how you're doing it. What type of person are you being in the meantime? Yeah, you're going to get a house, but are you going to be a dick living in a house, or are you going to be nice? Yeah, you're going to get an apartment. You're going to get a place to live of your own. It's just going to be inevitable if you don't use. It's really hard not to. You have to stumble around forever to not get a house. Really. I mean, it's not difficult. You just got to not do drugs and you'll get there. But you don't need to set a goal to get a house. You just need to not do drugs and shit, and you'll get a house. I don't know how long it'll take. I don't know, and maybe I'm backwards, and maybe this bothers people because people have based their life on this stuff. And I know, and I always need people that will be around me that will pick up a pen and help me create a vision. And it's nice to have those people because they write out all the possible scenarios and tell you how much money you need and shit. And then I don't listen. I just do what I'm doing. And it's nice because they take care of you. But for me, I'm just saying, luckily in my life, I was able just to focus on that. I'll say one more thing. And I've never said this. Tonight's escape hatch taught me one thing, because I was frustrated and I was mad, and not even to the point, guys, where I started, and I've talked to a few moms about this, and I've talked to everyone here about this. I started thinking that violence was a viable option to change people's behavior. And I really believe that could be true. And I was thinking there's a lot of people here in our program that would benefit from a nice solid ass kicking. And I thought, man, maybe we should be the program that started administering that publicly and letting people know that's what we do here. And so that became an option, if you see how crazy I am. But and as all that frustration built, and I wanted to kick some people, I didn't even want to do it myself. I wanted to appoint people to kick other people's ass. I thought that would be a better mode. And so but all that as that viable option showed up, so did frustration. And then all of a sudden, what kind of shown up was, and I don't even know how to, I never said this, but what showed up was I'm a man of God. And I don't say that often, but what I mean by that is I can stand by God and I can look at this work and I can say, you're a fucking artist, dude. This is beautiful. I can appreciate it. I can appreciate the work of life. I can appreciate that we can't have one without the other, that we can't have good behavior without bad behavior, that we can't have failure without success, that we can't have anything without struggle, that we can't get along if we don't know what it's like to not get along, that diversity, that fucking opposite, we can't have black without white. And I thought, man, I'm a man of God, one, because I can step back and for a minute, I can get out of all of it and I can just appreciate this thing. I can know the full worth of what we're going through. And I can only do it for a minute. I can't stay there forever because it'll pull me back in. But I can step back and find an escape route. When all the pressure builds up, I can step back and go, nice work. Nice work. Thank you, God. Thank you for making it a struggle. Thank you for not making it easy. Thank you for making people show me what type of human being I am. Thank you for the reflection that you give me with other people. And thank you for everything that we have here today. And I don't know if I can get as far as going around the table and talking about what to give thanks for. But as we're coming on Thanksgiving, I can tell you that I'm a man of God because I appreciate the work. I appreciate the artistry of what we're going through and how beautiful it is and how each one of us has this different opinion and this different viewpoint and how it so clashes together and we're all connected and we have to like struggle to just be with each other and we don't know what connection is. What is it? It's just there. We are connected. There's nothing we can do about it. We're connected. Nothing we can do about it. We can't get out of it. You can't move. And I think too many people say they're a man of God and they don't appreciate this. They complain, they worry, they don't have faith. And I say, sometimes I get a little escape hatch of faith. Sometimes I get a escape hatch of appreciation. And it's beautiful because it re-energizes me and I can go back to doing what I'm doing. And then I can worry about what I'm doing for a little while. And then the buildup happens and then you go back to how you're being. And it kind of oscillates. It's like beautiful. And so, I really think that for you all, recovery, appreciate it. Your addiction, appreciate it. Appreciate the full worth of it. Appreciate it. Appreciate what you've been given here today. What you have. Yes, it's a struggle. Would you want it any other way? Would life be anything if it wasn't a struggle? Would life be anything if it was easy? Would life be anything if you didn't have to, if it wasn't something to complain about? Well, we complain, we care, we hurt, we struggle. And it's all beautiful. And guess what? We don't know anything. It says Solution Group. We have none. We have questions. After 11 years, I've came full circle and I'm back to, I started out wanting to kick everyone's ass that did anything wrong. And then I got the whole dipshit line of compassion. I thought that was important. And I'm all the way back full circle and I want to kick people's ass again. I really believe that it's the most viable and logical option. That talking doesn't work. So I've gotten, and I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the lesson there. That every road that I went down of knowing ends in not knowing. Every one.
I think there's some parents out there that would appreciate you kicking their kids' ass. I can tell by their responses. They want.
Don't worry, it won't be me. I got a team of people that will do it for me.
I can tell.
Yeah.
I see your faces.
Well, just give me one.
Pay you extra.
I'll end on this, and I've been saying it all day. So your parents who understand what I'm saying, it's just this beautiful thing. And your kid comes to my program, and a parent brings them here and drops them off, and they get that first phone call from their kid. And their kid says, "Mom, I lied to everyone. I snuck out, used drugs, brought drugs back to the program, and then told everyone I was clean. And Cam came over and whooped my ass." And the only thing the parents would get to say in return is, Exactly. 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 And everyone would start learning behavior consequence. Be a prick, get your ass kicked. It'll come in one form or another. It'll come in the form of life. It'll come in the form of firing. It will come. And somehow in this world, we've become snowflakes, and it's be a prick, get to stay a prick, and actually persecute the people that are trying to hold you accountable for being a prick. And then somebody goes, I need to protect this prick and let him continue to be a prick. And we're okay with this now as a society. But I appreciate it, or I wouldn't have anything to think about. And so it's all there. And so that's all I really have for tonight. And we'll talk. But I really think recovery is not about what you're doing. We practice these principles in all of our affairs, is what they say in AA and NA. And I think that's a very valid statement. It's more about how you're doing things. It's not the fact that you're sweeping the floor, it's how you do it. It's not the fact that you're a janitor. It's, do you stand up and be prideful in your work? Do you have honesty and integrity? Do you stand at work and steal from your boss and be on your cell phone? Well, you're a thief. And if you were the boss and you were paying anyone to do a job and they were on their phone, would you fire them immediately and say, stop stealing my money? And so maybe you can understand. Maybe you can look at how you're being and be aware of yourself and go, man, what if you had somebody living in your house and they weren't completely paying their way? Somebody else was. And then they told you they wanted to sleep all day and they don't feel like cleaning the kitchen. Would you feel like whooping their ass? I think so. What if you let your friend live with you? And then you said, where have you been all night? He said, I've been at my parents', but he was out getting high. Would you whoop his ass? I think so. And I think we've got away from that fundamental solution, which is a very viable one in my eyes at this point. If I'm going to continue with these houses, I need violence as an option. And if it's not, I have no way to control the behavior, and I just got to get pummeled by it on a daily basis. So, anyways, but that being said, I'm a man of God. So. But I appreciate it. I appreciate his work, and I believe, and I don't know if it's a him or it's a her, or if it's a thing, or if it's a universe, or if it's a way, or if it's an energy, but whatever it is genius. And I'm a man of whatever it is, and I believe in it. And maybe it doesn't show up for you this way, but to me, the world is just. To me, the world is fair. Mm-hmm. To me, it works out. To me, it's pretty. To me, it has this beautiful thing where I'm doing good things and good things happen. When I'm doing poor things,
not so good.
Yeah, not so good things happen. I never got a flat tire when I was always going to get I never got a flat tire like on my way to work when I was sober. It was always when I was going to get crack cocaine. They should literally do an experiment on that. How many flat tires and how many times does somebody driving without a license get pulled over when they're at 7 a.m. going to work compared to when they're out trying to get drugs? You know, bad things always happened to me when I was doing bad things.
Out of gas.
Yeah, like I'm telling my dad, you know, I got arrested. Well, where were you? Well, it was 12:30 a.m. and I was in downtown Seattle. He goes, yeah, I know. I know. Only dipshits are in Seattle at 12:30 a.m. It's 100% dipshit down there at 12:30 a.m. That's what he told me. You know, the other thing I want to say is this is an expression. And it said, find my passion. No, you know what my passion is? And I thought about it a lot today. My home, this home that I live in, this is my home of my childhood. This is where my parents lived. And what I am, and what I've come to the conclusion is I am just an expression of my mother and father. If you know me, you know them. And that's what I've become. It's just an expression of my father. And I think that's my passion. I want to express to you what it felt like to be fathered by my father, because this is what he did for me. And this is what my mother did for me. And so we just become this. When we really find it, we just find out who we want to be as a human being. What I found out is I wanted to be like my dad. And he was a good man in my eyes. So I tried and aspired, and I didn't want to do what my dad did. My dad was a mechanic for Delta Airlines, but I wanted to be how he was. And I'm just an expression of how he was. So it's not even that. It's just the way it is. You just take it for that. Sometimes I'm angry. So was he. Sometimes I was kind. Sometimes he pummels and yells. And then sometimes he apologizes for that. And sometimes he provides. And sometimes he does too much. And sometimes he enabled. And sometimes he didn't. And sometimes he taught me lessons. And sometimes he gave me a hug. And sometimes he slapped my face or punched me. He did. Spanked my ass. Whatever he did. So we are just an expression. And I hope that maybe you see that maybe you can aspire to be an expression of somebody else and how you were treated. And you can look at more so how you're being rather than setting goals to what you want to do. And I know that's important for a lot of people. And I know I get that. But I think for us in recovery, we have the benefit of one thing. We've came to this conclusion that, and if you have, we've come to the conclusion that you're just kind of shitty at being a person. I think that's a good conclusion to come to. I think there's a lot of work to do after that. But if you think you're a great person, then you're going to be concerned with just how you're doing. And you're going to be just you're just going to be concerned with what you're doing. And you might as well just go, I don't know what you're going to do. But you're going to tell everybody what you're doing and think that impresses people. It doesn't. Nobody, in fact, is impressed with what we're doing. Has anyone on this planet ever told you what they were doing and you were impressed? Anything, ever. But what impresses us is somebody that is extraordinary at the way they behave, the way they handle life, the way they are, their response patterns to life. That's what impresses us.
And that's what makes their goals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe not, you don't have to call it goals, but last night when we had that discussion, and I was thinking about it all day too, and it was awesome. And basically what I was thinking was, I know what I want because that's all I've ever thought about.
Yeah.
Is what I want, but I've never thought about really who I want to be.
Yeah.
Right. And so who I want to be is all these things. You know, you want to be a great dad. You want to be a role model for people. You want to be a stand-up guy. You want to be honest. You want to be somebody with integrity. You want to be all these things. And when you see that and you're able to put that into words, that's the work.
Mm-hmm. And it also makes drug use not a possibility any longer.
Right.
It takes drug use off the table because you start understanding that you can't be that person while simultaneously using drugs.
Right.
But if you just decide what you want to do, it never takes drug use off the table. I could be a mechanic and do drugs all day. Now, could you be a mechanic with integrity and do drugs?
No.
You see? So once you decide that you want to actually focus your life, not on what you're doing, but who you are and how you're doing it and the fundamental framework that you're built from, actually the things, that people will say at your funeral. When you start focusing on wanting good things said at your funeral and then cultivating those things, what you're actually doing is you're building the framework to the person capable of doing anything, running any company, being the leader anywhere. I don't think I'd have a problem going anywhere and working in a company because I've done the work of the framework and I could go and just get along with people a lot better than I can get along here. Really. And so, if we can stay on that, because it's so quick to go back to, well, I'm more concerned with what I'm doing. But you just see the unhappiness when we're concerned with what we're doing. Because whenever we're concerned with what we're doing, notice that we're always not happy with what we're currently doing.
There's always something better.
Yeah. We're not happy with what we're currently doing. And then now we're concerned with what we're doing because we want to be doing something else than what we're currently doing. But when we're focused on how we're doing it, well, if you're focused on sweeping the floor and what you're doing, you'll want to get that done quick. But if you're focused on how you're sweeping the floor and whether you're doing a good job or not, well, that can go on forever without boredom. Big difference. All right, Ange, if anyone's got a question. I'm sorry if I'm looking sideways. We got our TV all screwed up. So we had to replace our TV, so it's off kilter here.
All right. All right. Well, let's open it up. So comments, questions, any shares are welcomed. There's a couple new people out there. I see a Don we haven't met. I see a Pete we haven't met. We'd love to meet you. So anybody who wants to say anything is willing to say hi. Just do your little thumbs up. I'm sorry, actually, it's a raise your hand, I mean. See, raise your hand feature there. Just raise your hand and I'll get to you. You'll be in line once you raise your hands. And then I'll get you unmuted. If you can't figure out that feature on your device, just unmute yourself, wave your arms, get my attention. And we've got about 20 minutes, so we'd love to hear from everybody. Who's first? There's lots of donations coming in, by the way. Thank you so much. Kristen's been typing all kinds of names there. Thank you, everybody, for the battle funds, jar donations. Thank you. Thanks so much.
There's this discontent. And the discontent that is prevalent sometimes amongst us. And that discontent is there because the person who's feeling that discontent is unhappy about what they're doing. It's not because they're considering and sitting there and thinking about who they are as a human being. Because if you were doing that, the discontent would go away immediately. And you would have to then be concerned with who you are as a human being. And you'd get that mopey, pissy, whiny look off your face right away. But if you're sitting here with a mopey, whiny, pissy little look, that's because you're concerned with what you're doing. And you're not hearing me. But if you want to be concerned with what type of human you are, then be responsible for the energy you're putting into this room and fix your face. And open it up. Say, hey, am I brightening your day now? Do I make the world better? Am I a nice person? Does this feel better than that? Does this feel better than your pouting? Because we get a lot of pouting around here. The pouting generates just a bottoming out of our energy. Well, why don't you stop worrying about what you're doing and start looking at how you're doing it? You know, in the end, when you die, it's just how you spend that 5 minutes. It's how you put your face up, how you take it. You know, or you can go out whining and pissing and complaining. What do you want to do? How we are is all we have. What we're doing is always something. We're always going to be doing something. But the determination of whether you're an asshole or not is how you're doing. That's it. So you can be the best.
Whether you take pride in what you're doing.
Yeah. There's somebody, talking about selling cars or whatever, and then the idea that you can't be an honest car salesman. Then don't be one. How's that? If you can't be an honest salesman, don't be one. I use all kinds of tricks and get people to buy my bullshit. Yeah, you're an asshole. You've always been. Nobody likes you. I mean, really, but you think everybody appreciates that. And you think because that gives you the goal of the BMW, and now you're going to drive that or the Mercedes, and now you're real cool and nobody cares.
It's never that way though.
Yeah. And notice nobody else ever cares if we achieve our goals.
Right.
You know what I mean? You got your goals up on the window and somebody goes, man, I hope you get it. Yeah. Like, you know what? They care if you're an asshole or not. And they'd be more inclined to want you to achieve those goals if you weren't an asshole.
So true.
And so let's get the cart before the horse. Before we figure out what we're doing, let's figure out who we are, who we're going to be. It's not we're going to figure out who we are, but there's a choice there there is an option there once you know that that's what you're doing. I can decide to be angry. I can treat a person with anger, and I can make that kind of a choice once I'm looking at how I am. I can decide to be kind. I can decide well, this is the appropriate way. I can decide to apologize. I can do everything when I'm looking at how I am. And I'm telling you, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare because you're never okay with yourself. And I think that's okay. You're always wondering and you're always questioning, was I nice to that person? Should I have said that? And isn't that good? Isn't that humility? To be able to go have interactions with people and go, man, back in the day, I think I treated that person like shit. I should do better. I think what I said was mean. Was that mean? Somebody calls you and go, hey, when I said that to you, was that mean? And I find myself in that position all the time when I'm wondering about how I'm being. Find myself questioning myself all the time. I do solution group. I get done and I go, oh man, I must have came off like a prick last night. Maybe next week I'll try to be kinder or whatever it is, but there's an option there once you're looking. But if you're not looking, then you just be how you are. And there's no option available. And then you're just doing what you're doing. And there's just no option there. And you know people, they're just how they are. And then they're at your work and you go, that's Fred, he's a prick. That's Mike, he's a prick. Never changes. You know? Okay, do you got any hands yet?
No, everybody's silent. They're taking it in. Oh.
I don't believe it. I don't believe in self-help. I believe in evolution of people. I don't know if we can help ourselves. We can try, but I don't know what you would do. Just try to be more kinder tomorrow. Are you going to make it? Try to take what I'm saying and apply it. You think it's going to work? I don't know if it'll work for you. It might. If you apply it, well, then you applied it. But if you don't, then you don't. But where's the control? I say all the time, I'm going to be less angry. I'm not. I say all the time, I'm going to worry about what people think about me less. I don't. You know, I'm going to be a more loving person. I'm not. I'm exactly the quantity of love that
we're unmuted.
Occurs. Okay, Becky.
Yes, Becky, go ahead. Is that your cat trying to talk to us too?
Yeah, I had to get him to shut up. Well, I talk enough as it is, but I was just thinking, you were talking in the beginning about diversity, and I was getting a little nervous about where you were going with that, but I think you're right. I think, birds of a feather flock together. People naturally are attracted to people that are like them. And, it's just human nature. And the one thing that I got to say about Solution Group and about Battlefield, and especially with the in-person thing, is that, everybody is doing the work, like you said, and trying to pay attention to how you're being. And so when we come together, and I think this is great in Mom's Group too, people are trying to pay attention to how they're being and just really connect, on a real level. And it's amazing. And that's why I love being here. And that's why I come every week, because I think you're right.
I think if you get a group of people together and they're concerned with what they're doing.
Yeah. It's not the same energy. It does not. Yeah. It's not the same thing at all.
Yeah.
So anyway, enough from me.
Thank you.
And my cat.
We love hearing from you, Becky. Thank you. Hey, Carrie.
Hey, Art.
Hi.
How's it going?
Sorry.
Okay. Just stirring the pot. And I you know what? If you're running say you're going to build some airplanes, you got to have a few goals, right? Because you got 150,000 people, you got to get going in the same direction. But
yeah,
I liked what you said. What you said that, if you've got some goals up there, has anybody ever said, hey, good job, I like your goals? Well, yeah, I hate to rain on that parade, but yeah, occasionally I've told somebody. But you're absolutely right. Because when you're out there, you're going to run into lots of assholes or pricks. And they're going to have their goals. And sometimes you're going to be in an environment where you got to work with that person. And it's really hard. And you find yourself trying to find that other person or group or leader to work with that has the values and is fun to be around, and you can get on board. And those are the people that other people go to. So you're absolutely, you nailed that one.
Yeah, I want to just point out, it's just, for me, it's just so difficult to help, and I don't even know how it'd start. And I don't know how you would start. I don't know how somebody comes here and then would be able to, when you're working as a team, as a team of people, you have to be centered on a common goal, get to the playoff, common result that you want. But as an individual, I would challenge that makes that as an individual to just say, what's your goal? And then go, well, my goal is to get a car. Well, how would you not do that? Like,
See,
I mean, like, my goal is to get my license back. And then, or my goal is to get a home. Well, of course, or my goal is to have $100,000. Well, okay. Okay. I mean, I don't care. The world doesn't care if that's your goal, and I don't know that you can just know, I mean, and so if we can, but maybe $100,000 will show up for you, and cars will show up for you, and everything will show up for you when you're the person. I don't think money shows up for us until we're the person ready to have that amount of money. I mean, I could never had a lot of money. I would have had to get rid of it back in the day. Now I can go to sleep with a certain amount of money that I never thought I would ever have. And I go to sleep when I have that. But a lot of you're just not the type of person that's ready for $10,000 in your bank account. You're not there yet. And if you have it, you're going to fuck it up. That's why the lottery is a failed system. People win the lottery and they're all broke because they're not a person capable of having that kind of money because they don't know how to control themselves.
We had this discussion today about Little Bundle. He's making some progress and building who Little Bundle is. And he wants to have disposable income. He called it something else, but he want to have disposable income. I said, that's not where you are. And oh, by the way, that's not your DNA. You're going to have to dig in and work for it. And I said, we didn't have that fuck you Monday until we were like in our 40s. So get on board with paying the bills and being glad that you can do that.
You got people like everyone watch TikTok and you watch these videos and you got all these people with billions of dollars trying to relate to us and tell us how to be billionaires. And it's like, dude, so they're saying, don't buy real estate because it's a bad investment now. And they're saying, get yourself disposable income and get yourself all this stuff. Well, a lot of you, you should be watching the TikTok video. They should be, don't do drugs.
I don't do drugs.
Yeah, start there. How about but people are watching the TikTok relating themselves to Grant Cardone. And then it says that you shouldn't have $100,000 in your bank account because you're just wasting the money and sitting there doing nothing. And you need to put it into an investment right away and get rid of it. And that's what he tells me. And I'm sitting here thinking, dude, what do you want me to invest in? Like, I don't know what you're saying, but if I listen to that bullshit and I got to be a billionaire like him, and if I'm not, then I'm not doing my life. Well, I have a different valued system in my life. I think I'm a success the nicer I get, not the more wealthier I get. And that's it. And I don't know if wealth will come to me. I'm not going to make it my goal. I want to not starve when I'm older. I'd like to have a person that likes me enough to, get me some food if I can't get out of bed. I'd like that. I'd like to have a lot of people at my funeral. That's a goal. I want a lot of people there. I hope they all come. And I hope there is a God, and I hope I get to sit by him and I get to look down and see what everyone thinks of me. That would be cool. I hope there's a God, and I hope he has the DVD. And he goes, here's the DVD of your life, Art. Let's watch. Were you an asshole? Or were you nice? Did you appreciate my work or no? Okay. So whatever, but I think we're getting a little off track here with everyone telling you what you're doing is wrong and what you need to do is more than what you're doing now currently. And you need to set bigger goals. And Yeah, no, you maybe just decide that you're going to watch how you are tomorrow. And tomorrow you're going to try to, maybe just not lying is a good goal ever again. Maybe that's a goal. Not deceiving, not taking shortcuts, not manipulating, not making the situation look different than it is, telling the whole truth, not omitting some of it, you know, jumping off a cliff and telling people shit that you did wrong before. I don't know. There's a lot more before you're going to set the goal to start this mogul type business. 10x it, you know, Gary V. These guys are dipshits. I mean, that's what's happened to them, but just tell everyone that they need to, what if the world was all rich? There would be no such thing as a billionaire if everyone was a billionaire. And they're just telling everyone to do that, and that's what we need to do. But no, there's garbage men, nice ones. There's janitors at Boeing, and there's CEOs, and there's treatment providers, and there's treatment workers, and there's counselors, and there's owners, and there's people that sell the cars, and people that make the cars, and people that clean the cars. And none of it matters. Doesn't matter. What people care about is, did you come over to my house, have a nice cup of coffee, and were you kind and nice, and did we sit and talk? Were you engaged, or were you on your phone? Did we have a nice dinner? Yeah, but he's a garbage man, so. I only like dinners with CEOs that are on their phones. You know? I mean, that's, the most interesting. Me and Angie, we met so far, I think, and when I remind Angie of this, we met the most interesting man in Vegas. And Angie, do you remember who he was?
The most interesting man in Vegas.
He drove a taxi cab.
Oh man.
He was a black gentleman. He drove a taxi cab, and he picked us up.
Yes. And
Pretty
he
much
was married, but he was very honest about what he'll be doing when his wife passes.
He was married, but he was very honest, and he was very hopeful.
Yes.
What he described was his hope that his wife passes before him so he gets all the money. And he was very honest, and it was so engaging because he says, I can't wait for her to go because I'm going to be alone with all the money, and I'm going to date all the young women in the world that I can. And, you know, it was the most interesting conversation that we've ever seen. And the guy was genuine and funny, and he wasn't mean. He was just saying his truth, and you could tell it was his truth.
Yeah.
And he could tell that his wife even knew and was okay with what he was saying.
Yes. He reminded me of my biological dad. So yeah, I totally remember him. He's just
and
like,
we met in Vegas. He was the funnest one to be around.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
And it was because it was truth. Yeah. Something so beautiful about truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got look at all these ladies all surrounding you on the screen. I don't know if you can see it like I do, but it's like the Charlie's Angels are all around you.
Lucky.
Yeah, totally. I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to do a screenshot so I can send it to you after. I just did a screenshot so I can show him what I see.
Look like one of these.
There we go. All these Charlie's Angels right around him. Yeah. Okay, Sherry and Kristen.
Hey, let me talk about Kyle for just a second. Hey, Art and Carrie and Doug. My husband came to Art's house today, and we've known Kyle since he was, I think, 3, probably, right, Carrie, is when we met? 3 or 2. And so Kyle's grown up with our family, and Monty called me and he said, I just had the best conversation with someone today. And I said, oh yeah, who? And he said, Kyle Burrows. He said he was so genuine, so beautiful. The things that came out of his mouth were just like, he just enjoyed the conversation so much. And they talked for like 15, 20 minutes, something like that. And I just wanted to say that that's just a beautiful transformation that he's seen with Kyle, because we've grown up with Kyle and we've seen everything, like Carrie's seen everything with my boy. And just the changes in Kyle has just been incredible. And Monty said, hey, what are you, of course it's the goals thing. I think Monty said, hey, what are you thinking of doing? And, and he said, I'm pretty content where I'm at right now. And I think I'll stay here for a little while. And I thought that was great. Beautiful. No rush to get out of there. And that's I know my Ty is, he managed for, I don't know, like 9 months probably. And Ty had way other things that he could have been doing, but he knew he needed to stay with Art in the big house, and that's where he was safe. So Kyle seems to know that too. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know that. And Monty's going to send you guys a text, and I'll forward it to you to Art once he does that. It was beautiful what Monty had to say, though.
All right.
Thanks for sharing that, Kristen. And a big thank you to Kristen and Monty Fairweather for the turkey donations. Every year, they actually donate turkeys to the houses, the recovery houses. They've done it every year. And Monty personally delivers them every year. And they don't put it out there. It's not like they do a splash. They're very low key and they're very low key and private people about it. And so it's just beautiful. They've done that every year for years. So thank you so much. And a big thank you to Monty for that. So.
I will.
All right, Sherry.
So I don't know, several weeks ago, we were talking about how addiction shows up, right? It shows up, and then it's a matter of it seems like it's a matter of how you respond to it. And it seems like that's kind of part of the conversation tonight is the good stuff and the bad stuff shows up, and it's just a matter of how you respond to it. Is that accurate-ish, or is that stretching?
I think all the way around. I think it doesn't. I don't think it's after. I don't think when you get out ahead of this thing, I don't think that we wait for things to show up. I think that we focus on how we're being, and then things show up. And what my suggestion tonight would be is when we are focused on how we're being, almost everything that shows up is good. It's all good. There's no such thing as bad. There's no such thing as good. It's all appreciative. And you appreciate, when you're focused like that, you appreciate everything showing up. And so if you would have been prepared with this before your kid's addiction showed up, the addiction showing up would have never been a bad thing. It would have just shown up like an opportunity. And everything just starts, for me, when I'm focused on how I'm being, I need difficult things to show up. Otherwise, I could be great all the time. And so when I'm focused on that first, life just shows up in a different way. Now, when you're focused on what you're doing, what will always show up is boredom with what you're doing and massive difficulty and complaints. And that will just show up regardless, even if it's going swimmingly. Even if you think that what you're doing is currently great, that runs its course and it always ends up sucking. And that's just how it works out, it seems to be. And so for me, part of the problem was watching these kids kind of struggle, manipulate, try to get to a place really quickly with what they want, rather than Kyle Burrows, who's no longer focused on what he wants outside of here, but he's actually here content with learning to be a better human. And then once shows up, as soon as we're doing that, is we rid ourselves of the discontent. Because what's there to be discontent about? There's difficulty, and then I have to look at me. And there's difficulty, and I have to look at me. And difficulty, and I have to look at me. There's nothing to be discontent. The only way discontent shows up is if that you feel unjustified or unfairly treated or victimized, and then discontent shows up. And so if we put the cart before the horse and we just make this our primary purpose, well, then we could be cooking carrots or whatever. It doesn't matter. We're content.
And we are past 8:30, so it is time to start wrapping it up. Thank you,
All right.
Sherry.
So, and I think that's a good thing. And parents with addiction, you're never going to know what you're doing. Just like I'm 11 years in and I don't know what I'm doing. But I do focus on how I'm being. And that seemed to make a difference. But almost what I'm doing never really makes a difference. You know, I don't care. I could be yelling and that doesn't work. And then I could be kind as hell and that doesn't work. And then I can be loving and that doesn't work. And I could say, I'm going to kick you out if you get high, and you'll get high. And I could say, you could stay if you get high, and you'll get high. And we could say, well, we're going to handcuff you to the tree if you get high. And then we'll be having people handcuffed to the tree and they'll have to bring them a blanket. And then we could say, don't get high when you go get the pizza, and then you come back high with pizza. And we could say, don't spend all your paycheck, and you're going to spend your paycheck. And we could say, you know, but you know, I could say, don't make a mistake, and I could try to control your behavior, and that won't work. There it is. And tonight, maybe I can be a little calmer than I was last night, and Bill Wiggins won't tell me that I looked upset. Maybe tonight, whatever. So, but all I want to say is we're going into Thanksgiving, and I don't know if you'll get as far as gratitude in your life, and I don't know what you're thankful for. And I just say that maybe you can find the same escape hatch that I can, and you can appreciate your struggle, and you can appreciate the fact that this understanding of understanding the full worth of our struggle, and understanding the full worth of diversity, and understanding the full worth of why we need it, why we have to have diversity, why we have to have people that don't think like us, or we wouldn't even be able to reflect ourselves. We wouldn't know who we are without them. We wouldn't know what we believed in if we didn't have people believing other things. We wouldn't know to believe in God if people didn't disagree with that. And so there's an appreciative little escape hatch, and gratitude is an escape hatch, and appreciation is an escape, and all of it, you know, acceptance is an escape hatch. And you can find all of it if you don't use drugs. If you go find a different one, some external escape, your mind won't learn. Your mind won't rewire itself. But if you allow it, you don't use, your mind will rewire itself. When I have difficulty, I sit still. I don't go gamble when I have difficulty. I don't have sex when I'm having difficulty. I don't watch television and try to get into a movie when I'm having difficulty. I don't do anything but let my mind settle and find an answer. And it will. It's a self-soothing mechanism. I can get through anything if I let my mind do it. And so maybe that's something you can try tomorrow. Maybe that's something that'll help you. But I will say, you know, at this time for Thanksgiving, I am really appreciative of my last year, the hardest year of my life. And I appreciate it. I really do. Harder than getting sober, harder than everything I've ever went through. And I appreciate it because it made me a different person, and it made new escape hatches in my mind. And I'm very thankful for that. And so, you know, we're going to take a little time this week and have Thanksgiving. I hope you can be thankful for what you've went through too. We'll see you all next week, and good night.
Thanks so much. Beautiful. Good night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. See you next Tuesday. Good night. Good night.